Welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone. I'm your host, Guy Lambert. Thank you so much for joining us. Coming up on the show today, D.C. police investigating a murder. This as the federal surge continues. We've got the latest. Hey, Commanders fans, you see them? Yeah, they're all smiles today. This after they put up a W on the chalkboard yesterday against the Giants. Now it's just count them. 3-day turnaround before they take on the Green Bay Packers. We're going to talk with Tailgate Ted to break it all down. And then we're getting a complete recap of the MTV VMA Awards with none other than Matt Dillon, who'll stop by a little bit later on in the show. All that and more coming up on the Fox 5 Live Zone today, but how about we talk about this amazing weather? Taylor Grinda joining us right now on the Live Zone. Picture perfect, Taylor.
Oh, it's been amazing, right? And I do think this week will be one of the picture perfect weeks of the entire year for sure.
Loving it.
Hopefully it continues, but we could use some rainfall. Not seeing a whole lot of that in the 7-day. We are warming up pretty quickly right now. We're already into the 60s to low 70s for most of you. Live look at radar for today, looking pretty dry out there, and that will be the case not just today, but really the extended 7-day forecast as well. Temperatures will be a little bit below average as we kick off this week. I think we'll hit mid 70s for today. To put in perspective, we should be in the mid 80s, like 84 degrees. That's the average high. So we'll keep things relatively cool through at least midweek, and then we'll slowly start to warm back to the 80s towards the end of the week. Keep in mind, tonight temperatures will be cooler again. I think we'll drop into the 40s to 50s for the overnight low temperatures. So tomorrow we'll be off to a cool start for the Tuesday morning commute, school, whatever it is. You'll need to bundle up. Tomorrow we'll rebound into the mid to upper 70s. Should be a fantastic day for outdoor plans. And then here's how the rest of the 7-day forecast goes. Plenty of sunshine, dry weather. I think through Wednesday, we're looking dry and a little bit cooler, and then finally back to the 80s for Thursday and Friday, and then the weekends looking pretty nice as well. So can't complain.
Can't we just bottle all of this up and just take it with us forever?
I know, right? Especially in like January, February when we need it.
Taylor Grinda with all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so yet, make sure you download the Fox Local app. That way you can take that amazing forecast with you any and everywhere you go. All right, guys, some of the stories we're following locally. New details this afternoon in a Montgomery County cold case that was the subject of a Fox Local true crime special. Nearly 3 years after Charles Reynolds was killed inside of a Silver Spring parking garage, police have released new surveillance images. Charles Reynolds was shot and killed just 4 days before Christmas back in 2022. Now Montgomery County Police believe this man could help in the murder investigation. Investigators now asking anyone who knows who he is to come forward. There were no cameras in the stairwell where Reynolds was shot. He had just finished dinner with his family when he went to put the leftovers in his car. Police found the food inside his car on the 3rd level. His family says his body was yet again found in a stairwell in the garage. Charles' wife spoke publicly back in 2023 about how her husband's murder changed their family's lives forever.
We literally in a 6-minute time frame went from celebrating and being together, getting ready for Christmas, to then just the unimaginable. And I would just want that person to never do it again and never have another family go through what my family has gone through.
Yeah, just such a tragic story. You can learn more about this case by watching the true crime special In Plain Sight on Fox Local. Well, the Washington Commanders opened their season with a 21-6 win over the New York Giants, and, well, you saw it on Fox 5. The Commanders wasted no time getting fans on their feet during yesterday's game. Quarterback Jaden Daniels connected with veteran tight end Zach Ertz to open the scoring. Then in the second quarter, well, the running back known as Bill, he punched it in, adding to his growing legend as a 7th-round fan favorite. We'll get a complete recap of the game at 12:30 when our guy, Tailgate Ted, joins us right here on the Live Zone. And today, Fox 5 is proud to partner with Pepco, Giant, and the Capital Area Food Bank to help feed those in need, and are calling on you to now join in. You can drop off non-perishable items at 625 Hungerford Drive in Rockville. That's in Maryland until 6:30 tonight. Well, switching gears to politics, President Trump now asking the Supreme Court to step back into the fight over billions of dollars in foreign aid his administration is attempting to cut out, setting up a case that would address how much power the White House could wield. Meanwhile, a federal appeals court in New York upheld a $83.3 million judgment imposed on President Trump for defaming former magazine columnist E. Jean Carroll back in 2019. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Josh McLaurin, Georgia Senator and political strategist back here on the Live Zone. That's a tongue twister for you, sir. Welcome back to the show and happy Monday.
Thanks very much. Good to be with you.
Good to see you as well. Josh, let's start with this ruling by the Federal Appeals Court in New York, which as you just heard me make mention, really upheld that $83.3 million judgment imposed on President Trump. We all know when this took place, back in 2019 against magazine columnist E. Jean Carroll. The next step would be to really challenge this in the Supreme Court. What do you foresee happening?
Well, I mean, let's return to the facts here, which are that he publicly made statements about her, accusing her of being a liar in regard to her sexual assault allegations that she made. 100 million people saw those allegations, those false allegations by Trump. And there were hundreds of death threats issued to her. I mean, she lived a living hell for a while because of Trump's repeated attacks on her. And it wasn't just one time. He repeatedly escalated those attacks over the pendency of her legal proceedings. And so, this is a malicious, on purpose behavior by Trump that was unignorable. I mean, he's been able to wiggle out of some court rulings, but this behavior was so bad and the issue was so, set apart from his presidential authority. It had nothing to do with his office that, he's going to have to finally be held accountable for this. And I think the Supreme Court would be in real trouble politically if they try to protect him on this in the way that they have carved out some of his other, types of authority based on district court rulings where those district courts have tried to limit his authority. I think that they would be in real trouble politically if they try to do the similar thing here and protect Trump against all kinds of legal accountability. So I would anticipate the Supreme Court goes with what you're seeing from the appellate court and upholds that verdict if they even take the case. My guess is they'll probably avoid it. But again, I think one of the few times when Trump is held accountable legally, it needs to be, celebrated, because ultimately there are some courts that are not going to hold him accountable. And that's why he has been so bold in trying to do all the things he's doing.
Yeah, it's now a case of we'll have to wait and see. And that's exactly what will unfold right before our very eyes. Speaking of the president, over the weekend, yet again vowing to clean up Chicago, although he did call it fake news when asked by a reporter yesterday if he was going to war with the Windy City. The exchange came as protests were held over the weekend against Trump's repeated threats to deploy federal troops in Chicago. Now, Trump also said he's considering sending troops to New Orleans to help fight crime, while Homeland Security says raids in Boston by federal immigration police have already begun. Josh, is the president yet again on the move?
I don't know what on the move means. I know that he's a wannabe cowboy who is using this political theater in every city that he can try to get his hands on to look like a tough guy. But again, it's like got all the energy of a car going down the street with a loud muffler. He's compensating for something, I feel like. And, every time he threatens a city, he puts on a full show for his base. So like the, Truth Social post that he did with a parody of Apocalypse Now called Shipocalypse Now, with, an image that appeared to be napalm on the city of Chicago, an American city, and him saying they're going to find out what the Department of War means. In other words, implying that he's going to declare war on Chicago. I mean, this is crazy stuff, and it's offensive stuff. And then what we see from the administration is when he gets called out on that for how stupid this is, then they backtrack and say, hey guys, chill out. Can't you just take a joke? And it's like, nah, man, the real serious leaders in these places, like, Governor Pritzker in Illinois, they have to actually govern. They have to actually be responsible adults who respond to these threats as if they're serious. And so, maybe Trump and Vance and the boys are all laughing in the White House about the effect that this has on, quote, triggering the libs or whatever. But the reality remains that this is a serious threat to norms and democracy in this country. It's a threat to federalism and the ability of states to control their own National Guards and their own policing of law and order inside their jurisdictions. It's a threat to all of it. And again, you and I spoke recently about how people used to think Obama was going to, quote, take over and, militarize youth and have like some army or something. And there's all this commotion about what Obama might do. Trump is literally doing all of that stuff. And even if he acts like he's just joking around, he's invoking those military threats so that he can sort of be this saber rattler tough guy. So I think we need to recognize both aspects of what this is. It's both aggressive and dangerous, and it's also stupid and childish. And he needs to be continually reminded that he is acting in all of those ways.
All right, well, let's take it from Chi-Town back right here to the nation's capital. In this case, we know that a bipartisan team of House lawmakers says they have enough votes to force the release of Justice Department files on the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. A Republican and Democrat lawmaker started a petition that would force a vote on releasing the files. Now, they said they are not concerned that the effort might be blocked in the Senate or that the Justice Department might remove any Republican names from those documents. Yet again, the Epstein case, if you will, just won't go bye-bye for President Trump, Josh.
Yeah, well, and it shouldn't. I mean, you had people, on his team, Vance and others, years ago, acting like there was some big government cover-up, and now that Trump is in charge, they're acting like that government cover-up has gone away. And listen, I've talked to Democrats about this. I know, obviously I'm a Democratic state senator. I keep in touch with Democrats all the time. We are not in a position of saying, we don't want the files released to their full extent because there might be some Democrats implicated. We want everybody who's in these files to be found out, whether they're Democratic or Republican. And I think, the public is now well informed enough about this episode that if you see heavily redacted files or files that don't mention some of the obvious people like Trump that were known to be implicated in this, then the public's going to know what they're looking at. They're going to know that they're looking at a cover-up. So I think the people who are in charge of releasing these files have a real decision to make about how honest to be, because they have to know that the more they try to redact these files or cover up people inside, that people are going to see right through that and smell a rat. So I don't know. I think they're in a tough spot. I think ultimately the truth will come out, and you see more Republican voices saying that same thing every single day.
Yeah, if the American people are calling for the release of the files, well, in essence, they should do just that. Just my opinion. Ukrainian President Zelensky now expressing the need for more pressure from American and European allies against Russia. Over the weekend, during an appearance on ABC's This Week, Zelensky said it starts with Russian energy. This comes as the two nations have been at war now for, count them, Josh, over 3 years. Josh, it's no secret. President Trump said as soon as he got in office, this thing would come to an end, yet that's not the case.
Well, I mean, Guy, we're having the same conversation about Trump over and over again, regardless of what topic we're talking about, right? Which is like, this guy is a showman. I remember watching The Apprentice at home, and I told my mom to turn it off back when I was a teenager. He's been a showman for decades. All he knows how to do is light fires and gather a bunch of eyeballs and attention. And so it's the same thing with the Russia stuff. I mean, he can say he's anti-war, but then he renames the Department of Defense, the Department of War, or tries to. Also, we can't count on any resolution to the Ukraine conflict being pro-democracy, being protective of the interests of Ukraine or NATO. We can't count on Trump not basically selling the farm to Putin, because he admires Putin so much as an autocrat, and Trump wishes that he had the same control over domestic politics here that Putin has there. So we have no reliability, no trust that Trump will come up with a solution that's actually good for anybody except for Trump. And again, I wish I weren't 10 years into the Trump era staring into a camera saying the same thing over and over again, but it's just a matter of time until enough Americans figure that out again. And the elections go a different way once we realize that, oh wow, Trump has let us down once again and done things, fully in service of his own ego.
Well, Josh, perhaps you will stop sounding like a broken record soon, and very soon. This after a new poll found that just 4 in 10 Americans actually approve of Trump's job performance. That according to the latest NBC News Decision Desk poll. So it appears Americans are somewhat souring to the president, Josh.
Absolutely. I mean, look, this is frustrating as somebody who, obviously I've opposed Trump for a long time. I've made the case in 2024 and way earlier than that. Look, these tariffs are going to increase prices. Look, these mass deportations are going to deport people you know and love who are making your communities run and who are paying taxes. You can tell the public all these things, but sometimes, people just got to vote and figure it out. And so Democrats are in this weird position right now where, look, we want to stop bad things from happening. We want to stop USAID from being completely dismantled, or the PEPFAR program, and millions of people dying across the globe because American aid is being taken away. We want to stop, these harmful invasions of military or National Guard. A lot of times the National Guard troops don't even know why they're there, right? But they go to these cities so that Trump can look like a strongman. We want to stop all this stuff and keep it at bay if we can. But we also have to recognize that millions of Americans voted for some of these promises. Trump is keeping his promises to be very disruptive in these ways that I think are very harmful. And so part of it is just, if somebody wants to reach out and touch the stove to learn that it's hot, they've got to do that. But then you've got to be ready after somebody touches the stove to say, well, obviously we don't want to touch the stove again, right? This was a learning experience, and we now see again who Trump really is. And so obviously in 2026, the midterms will be the next big test of the durability of these polling numbers. And I think, Democrats are in a position where we got to be ready to govern in 26 and 28 as people come around to realizing that Trump was never going to be in favor of their interests.
Well, as the saying goes, Josh, the numbers don't lie. Yet again, we've been speaking with Josh McLaurin, Georgia senator and political strategist, back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend. Make it a great day.
Good to see you as well. I'm not a strategist, but I am a senator, and I do hope to speak on behalf of my constituents every time I appear.
Good stuff, sir. Truly appreciate it. Well, the latest job numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics paint a rather bleak picture of the state of the economy. If you missed it, the U.S. generated only, count them, 22,000 new jobs last month, about 1/3 of what was expected. To make matters worse, readjusted numbers for June show we actually lost jobs for the first time in about 4 years. So, what does this mean for the overall economy? And what happens next? To discuss just that, Mr. John Iannucci, founder of ILG Private Wealth, joins us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, John. Happy Monday.
Nice to see you, Guy. Thanks so much.
All right, let's jump right into this. Obviously, you heard me make mention of the job numbers, so what did they say to you, sir?
Well, there's no question that what we saw was an increase in jobs in healthcare, but a reduction in jobs, a net loss of jobs as a result of the Fed, the federal government releasing so many people and terminating so many folks. So we did have unemployment is up to 4.3% now. So it was a net loss of jobs, no question.
And so with that being said, is it what you expected, and I would even argue what most Americans expected?
I think it is what we expected in the short term. And you've got to look at jobs reports typically over about a 3-month profile in order to start to get an accurate depiction of what the economy is at this point. So, in addition to the jobs reports, we've got to look at the GDP, inflation, consumer spending, and consumer kind of, how strong do they feel about the markets at this point? What's the housing market doing? The jobs report is important, but it's only one small piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, and then there happens to be that whole hiring thing where, well, we see companies doing that day in and day out. However, if you look at the stats, that's somewhat slowed, sir.
It did. There's no question about it. And I think what we're seeing is that companies are still reacting to the uncertainty created by the tariffs. And so as we get through this tariff dispute, those companies will begin rehiring again. But there's no question that there's volatility in the market. There's no question that there's uncertainty in the jobs market. And, I think there's no question that the tariff dispute is behind a lot of that.
Yeah, John, we've all heard that phrase, location, location, location. In this case, we're talking inflation, inflation, inflation. We did see an uptick. Should Americans be concerned?
Well, I don't think so. I think what we're seeing at this point, Guy, is extreme pressure at this point on the Fed to reduce interest rates. Inflation did not calm as much as the Fed had hoped, but I think the Fed is really getting to the point where they've got to make a reduction in September in interest rates to support what we're seeing, both in the job market as well as in consumer spending.
All right, John, I don't see that crystal ball in front of you yet. I'm going to pose the question, and that happens to be, will things get better, sir?
I don't think there's any question that things will get better. Now, Guy, there are certain parts of the market that I think most economists believe are perhaps overvalued. So you've got to be very cautious going forward, but I don't think there's any question that things will definitely get better.
That's what you call an optimistic approach. I agree, sir.
Absolutely.
Yet again, we've been speaking with Mr. John Iannucci, founder of ILG Private Wealth, and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Truly appreciate your time, sir.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
But less than 1% ever receive an accurate diagnosis. By improving the diagnosis of fetal alcohol syndrome and other neurodevelopmental disorders, Dr. Cleveland and the Fusion Center Network will be able to help people have longer, healthier, happier lives. I want to congratulate Dr. Cleveland and her colleagues on their new venture. Madam Speaker, it's with immense pride that I rise and recognize a remarkable business milestone, 70 years of success, growth, and innovation at Rector Philip Morris, the RPM Group. RPM is an Arkansas-based real estate company specializing in commercial and investment real estate, along with professional property management, creating hundreds of jobs across Central Arkansas. Known for its client-focused approach, RPM works with businesses, large and small, to find the space they need and help Arkansans find homes and apartments. Founded in 1955 by Arkansas Business Hall of Fame inductee Billy F. Rector and his partners, Biney Morris and Faye Phillips, they have gone from hard, humble beginnings in Central Arkansas to the top in the real estate industry. 17 years ago, RPM partnered with Caldwell Banker to expand its residential business, combining national brand power with their local expertise to better serve communities in Arkansas. The theme of RPM's 70-year anniversary is Building Tomorrow, which demonstrates the leaders of Central Arkansas's unwavering focus on future growth, innovation, and long-term community impact. Thank you, RPM, for your continuous contributions for the betterment of Arkansans. I yield back.
Thank you. The chair recognizes gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Courtney, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, at least 6 people died and several others were injured in a shooting attack in Jerusalem this morning. Israeli emergency services said a Spanish national has been confirmed, as among those killed. Israeli police said 2 attackers arrived by vehicle. A security officer and a civilian at the scene returned fire, killing the attackers. The shooting is the deadliest attack in the city since 2023, when a Palestinian man opened fire, killing 7 people near a synagogue. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Harley Littman, foreign policy expert, back here on the Live Zone. Harley, always good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Good to see you as well.
Obviously, our condolences happen to be going out to the families who lost loved ones. As you heard me make mention, Harley, Hamas did not take responsibility for this, but they did welcome the slayings. What gives? In essence, it's as if they did it.
Yeah, I think they're very clever. It's, you know, they're mindful of international attention, and clearly they're don't want to acknowledge that because that can make negotiations more difficult for them. But whether they actually organized it or not, I think this speaks to some of the root causes of the problem in the Middle East, and particularly among Palestinians. And that is their hatred of Jews, their hatred of Israel, to the point that they'll just shoot civilians in a suburb just because they're Jewish or Israeli. And this is tragic on so many levels, but very revealing as to what the goals and the intent are of, you know, the Palestinian community. And it's very sad and frightening.
Yeah, Harley, you heard me make mention they are the shooters, if you will. The attackers happen to be 2 Palestinian nationals. Do we have any additional information about them?
I'm not aware of that. But regardless of what we find out about them, which of course would be interesting, I think that it speaks to a poll that was done after October 7th, where 87% of the Palestinians supported October 7th. And that's a frightening statistic and data point, because we all know on October 7th, what took place was a savage attack on civilians in Israel, the raping of women, the burning of elderly in wheelchairs in front of their families, really just incredibly horrific acts of murder. And this is what is truly genocide. They were trying to kill every single Jewish person they could. Contrary to Israel and Gaza, Israel is not committing genocide, because for it to be genocide, there has to be intent. And Israel's intent is not to slaughter Palestinians, because if there was intent, they would have accomplished it a long time ago.
Harley, we know that the Israeli military is now calling on Gaza City residents to evacuate, including a high-rise that houses a local human rights organization. Now, the military, in essence, stating that they marked buildings that will be attacked due to the presence of Hamas terrorists inside or near those buildings. I'm curious, your take on that, sir?
Well, of course, at first blush, it sounds rather draconian of Israel. They're blowing up the whole building just because maybe one apartment or one area has a Hamas connection. And it feels extreme and it feels disproportionate. And I can understand that. But at the same time, this is the only way to stop the fighting, is this strategy of trying to, as much as they can, decisively defeat Hamas. And if you do that, you have closure and nobody dies anymore, no one is killed. Once again, to prove this is not genocide, because Israel's requirements for there to be resolution is the hostages are given up, because these are innocent Israeli civilians who are kidnapped and tortured in these tunnels in Gaza, and for Hamas to disarm. So the war that Israel is fighting is against Hamas. I can't emphasize that in stronger terms. It's not against the Palestinians, because as I mentioned, you would have no more fighting if Hamas surrendered. It would all be over and no more Palestinians would be killed.
And so with that being said, Harley, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm curious, with that being said, what does total victory look like? In this case, militarily, politically, and diplomatically?
Another great question. And in fairness to the other side, there are people who feel that total victory is an illusion, that Israel cannot achieve it, that you'll always have some guerrilla elements, you'll have some Hamas elements. You're never going to stop it completely. So what is this idea of Israel's total victory? So that's one school of thought. And those who believe that, and that's true for many Israelis, again, like the Vietnam War, a lot of Israelis are demonstrating against the war. They're tired of it, and they feel that it's not worth any more dying of Israeli soldiers or Palestinian civilians for this war to continue, because they feel Israel has largely defeated Hamas already. And for Israel to continue to fight this war only contributes to Israel's isolation in the world, the momentum for a Palestinian state, which would be destructive to everyone, which I could go into later, and it creates more anti-Semitism. But the flip side of that says that if you had a ceasefire now and let's say stop fighting, even if you got the hostages back, what happens tomorrow? And the problem with that is tomorrow you'll still have Hamas. They will regroup, re-energize, rearm, and they've said repeatedly that they'll attack Israel time and time again.
Yeah. We'll end with this, Harley, and that is the role the U.S. should continue to play and or not play. In your mind, has that changed?
No, I think it's quite distinctive and impressive that President Trump is standing behind Israel so much. And I know it looks warlike and violent and terrible suffering on all sides, particularly innocent Palestinians that are dying in this conflict. But I'll end this with the analogy of the United States. If we had Fox or any other network at Gettysburg during the Civil War, I suspect the North would probably say, let the South succeed. Who wants to watch this carnage and this death? 50,000 people died in Gettysburg. When you think how small America was then, it was a catastrophe. It was a slaughter, but it ended slavery. So I think while wars are terrible, in the end, I think the peace that it will bring to the Palestinians and Israelis make this worth it.
Yet again, Mr. Harley Littman, foreign policy expert, joining us right here on the Live Zone. I truly appreciate your time, Harley.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break. On the flip side of that break, let's lighten things up, shall we? In this case, Commanders fans, all smiles. Why? Well, you already know. They beat the Giants yesterday. Tailgate Ted will join us to discuss just that and so much more when we come right back.
Administration has continued to make plans to cut even more education funding, including the Department of Education itself. We need to make sure that we are pushing back and fighting back against these cuts because our kids are worth it. And the Big Ugly Bill slashed funding for Medicaid and SNAP, which families in our community rely on to keep their kids healthy and fed. And if we really want to be pro-family and pro-kids and pro-parents, we would be investing in our students, not causing chaos and confusion by cutting resources and making our schools less safe and underfunded. And so I will continue to work with my colleagues, and I hope this can be bipartisan to push back on these cuts to education. Madam Speaker, hate has no place in our communities, and that's why I condemn the recent hateful attacks on Hindu temples and mandirs all across the country. From the BAPS Sri Swaminarayan Mandir in Indiana to the Sri Radha Krishna Temple in Utah, sacred spaces for faith communities have been targeted with acts of hate, vandalism, and desecration. And these are not isolated incidents. It's part of a rise in violence. It's a part of a rise in division in our country. It's not just happening to temples, it's happening to all places of worship. And every American deserves the right to safely practice their faith without fear. That's why we need to continue fighting for increased resources for security at places of worship like these temples, and we must be committed to doing more to combat the rise in hate that we're experiencing in the United States and ensure that our communities are protected. So I will continue to work with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to do that. Madam Speaker, since May, 33 new small businesses have officially opened in Prince William County. They include Al-Sham, a Syrian grocery store and bakery, a GN banquet center, an event venue, Modern Remodeling, a restoration service, Shadid, a Saudi-style coffee shop.
All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Let's talk sports, shall we? Commanders fans, myself included. You see that? I'm smiling. All Commanders fans are smiling because they won their season opener, beat the New York Giants yesterday at Northwest Stadium. Final score 21-6. The Commanders, well, they really wasted no time in getting fans on their feet. Quarterback Jaden Daniels connected with veteran tight end Zach Ertz to open up the scoring. And, well, I could just go on and on, but who cares? The bottom line is that the Commanders won in a major way, and they beat the division, well, let's say rival Giants. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is probably the biggest Commanders fan on the planet, Tailgate Ted, back here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, my friend. Oh, it's a great Monday.
No, Guy. It's a victory Monday, man. Always great to see you, my friend.
I got to tell you, Ted, when the Commanders win, it just hits different when you wake up, as you stated, on a victory Monday. And a lot of folks smiling from ear to ear. However, I got to play devil's advocate here. Right after the game, quarterback Jaden Daniels said, you know what, okay, we got the win, but we were somewhat sloppy. What say you?
They were sloppy, right? This is technically the first game of the season, but for a lot of fans that have been watching for a long time, this is still kind of preseason, right? Jaden only had one drive the entire preseason. Terry wasn't there during preseason. Jaden didn't even throw a ball during preseason. So they definitely left some points on the table. The good news is the defense had their back, and it didn't even matter.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? You made mention of Terry McLaurin. I was at the game, as were you, yesterday. And I saw that with regard to Jaden Daniels, that deep pass, if you will, to Terry McLaurin. It looked like he somewhat overthrew him, but yet again, that's where preseason comes into play. That's where training camps comes into play. And apparently, they both didn't have just that this year.
They didn't, and I know that the team was hoping to scrimmage the Ravens. That got canceled at the last minute. You can only see so much during preseason games. You're not really trying to do anything. But the good news is they were able to shake some of that rust off. What they really need to focus on is the penalties. I think that's a lot of what Jaden was also talking about. They had 12 penalties for almost 90 yards. You can do that against a bad team like the Giants. You can't do that against a good team like the Packers, who we have in just a couple of days.
Yeah. All right, you made mention of Terry McLaurin, who happens to be a fan favorite. But hold up, wait a minute, Tailgate Ted. Apparently there's a new guy in town. Goes by the name of Bill. I absolutely love that. We're talking about the running back, a 7th-round pick, quickly becoming a household name, Ted.
I was shocked. So I get to the stadium at 7 o'clock, and I don't get a chance to look at my phone. So the debate was, is Bill going to be active, or is it going to be Chris Rodriguez Jr.? I get inside the stadium. I'm at my seats. No Chris Rodriguez to be found. Bill got the nod. What a lot of people don't know is you only have 47 players active on game day, and Bill got it as a rookie. And he showed why they traded away Brian Robinson Jr. to the 49ers, because Bill led the team in yardage, averaging almost, 8.2 a carry?
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy to see that young man.
Yeah. But by the way, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask, how in the heck did he get the name Bill?
So there's apparently a cartoon character by by the name of Bill that he looked like. So he got that nickname growing up as a kid. And it's a lot easier to say Bill versus his entire name, which I still butcher and won't even try.
Yeah, that's why you didn't hear me say it as well, Tailgate Ted. You're right. It's 3 words, and you try saying that fast a couple of times. All right, so the Commanders, they picked up that W against the Giants, which, it felt so good. Now, oh my gosh, not 1, not 2, but just 3 days from now, Tailgate Ted, they're going to take on the Green Bay Packers, who many predict may very well go to the Super Bowl.
It's with that missing piece of Micah Parsons that they just added. And I am so happy the Cowboys pulled the Cowboys and traded him out of the division so we don't have to see him twice a year. The bad news is we have to see him this week. And that Packers defense held a very, very proficient Lions offense to just 13 points. And they don't have to travel anywhere. So they're going to get a lot more rest than we are. We've got our work cut out for us this week.
Yeah, last time I checked, I think the Green Bay Packers are favored by 3.5 points, but it could be a lot worse, and that will truly be a test for the Commanders in, yet again, just 3 days. With that being said, Tailgate Ted, what would you deem a success for the Washington Commanders this year?
Playoffs. Right? It's playoffs is where the bar is, and that's just such a scary thought considering how low the bar was years prior to the Hogs ownership group, the Harris ownership group taking over. But are we going to win 12 games in the regular season like we did last year? I don't know. I'm not too sure if we will because we have a lot tougher schedule this year. We've got to go out to Kansas City. We've got to go to Green Bay. We're going to Spain to play the Dolphins, who don't look good, but we still have to go to Spain. But how far we get in the playoffs is really what's going to mean a successful season. NFC Championship game? Who knows?
Yeah.
But 5 can get us there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said the playoffs and not necessarily their record. We all know that the Commanders have a tougher schedule this year, so perhaps not as many wins, but yet again, if they make it to the playoffs or when they make it to the playoffs and continue to advance, that's what you really judge.
Oh, everyone starts from scratch once you get back in that postseason. Right? That's all that matters. It would be amazing to host a home playoff game. So if we get a chance to do that, I think that's a successful season. And we build on that. I mean, we were 60 minutes away from the Super Bowl, Guy.
Oh, gosh.
And just thinking about that still gives me goosebumps. But Dan Quinn has built a culture with this team and a group of young men that want to fight for each other. And they will do everything they can to get us back there again this year.
Yeah, Tailgate Ted, is no secret. Every great warrior knows his or her opponent. In this case, we're talking about other teams. Any other team in specific really stand out to you thus far? And I know it's only week 1, but I have one on my mind. I'm curious, do you?
The Chargers looked really good against Kansas City. I mean, that was a game they all had to travel to Brazil for. It was a home game for the Chargers. But to do that against the AFC champs and to watch Justin Herbert look more like Patrick Mahomes than Mahomes did, they definitely surprised me.
Yeah. All right, for me, it's the Buffalo Bills. Did you see that comeback last night against the Ravens right up the road? Well, obviously, they play right up the road. Took place in Buffalo, but dear God, what a game. Yet again, the AFC. So let's say the Commanders make it all the way to the big game. Perhaps they'll be taking on the Bills. Who knows? As we wrap up, sir, what's coming up on the podcast?
So Rally Captain and I are doing the DMV Mess Hall this afternoon. We're going to recap the tailgate and everything from a fan perspective yesterday. We're going to preview the Packers game coming up, and maybe got a couple of little nuggets that we're going to give you that you didn't get to see if you weren't there.
Well, absolutely love it. By the way, absolutely love that victory cigar you got a chance to smoke yesterday following the victory over the New York Giants. Tailgate Ted joining us right here on the Live Zone. As he made mention, this upcoming Thursday, you could watch the game right here on Fox 5. The pregame show starts at 7:30, and then the Amazon Prime game on Fox 5 begins at 8 p.m. Tailgate Ted, always good to see you, my friend.
My pleasure, Guy. You take care.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, it's a back-to-school Monday in a major way. That's because, yes, school happens to be back in session. For many families, after-school programs are an essential part to further learning. What are the benefits for educational and social learning, and what role does federal funding play in operating programs? Joining us to discuss just that and so much more is Dr. Bianca Baldridge. She's an associate professor of education at Harvard University and specializes in community-based education with a particular focus on those involving Black and Latino learners. Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is a very important topic, and I'm thinking back to, I don't want to date myself, but to my day when those after-school programs were going on. And yet again, I would argue, ma'am, that so many folks would say, hey, what is the purpose of an after-school program, to which you and I both know, oh, they serve a major purpose?
Yeah, after-school programs serve an amazing purpose for helping young people get access to greater educational opportunities. After-school programs can help with homework and support young people's greater attachment to school. But in addition to the academic supports, they also provide what I call youth development, right? So that's social and personal and emotional development. That's the opportunity to connect with their peers, connect with positive adults outside of their parents, and to also increase existing skills and talents and get exposure to new things. Yeah. It also increases self-confidence, self-efficacy, leadership, allows them to think about things critically in the world and perhaps even create change in their schools and communities.
So why in the heck would someone combat that? I'm just trying to figure that out. To me, it sounds like a home run.
Yeah, and particularly thinking about the federal funding that supports after-school programs, those monies support young people in after-school programs through supporting materials and supplies for after-school programs, paying staff members and paying staff members to engage with young people, but then also serving things like snacks and meals for young people after school on the weekends, and especially in the summer months, right, when parents are working but young people are home from school, right? So summer programs are really, really essential to supporting young people, and particularly their whole development. As a sociologist of education, I have always been concerned not only with the academic support that young people receive, but also who they are in their entirety as whole human beings. And after-school programs are excellent at providing young people with well-rounded opportunities for care and support.
Yeah, Dr. Baldridge, it's no secret there happen to be a plethora of after-school programs, and so parents watching right now are saying, should I pick this one, that one, which one should I choose? I'm curious, how would one go about to do just that?
Right. So there are a couple opportunities for parents and families to connect with programs. So a lot of school districts, a lot of schools will offer after-school programming for students. But then in addition to what school districts might provide, there is an array of community-based youth-serving organizations right in your neighborhoods and communities. And so I would encourage families to check out their communities, check out their neighborhoods. You can find organizations like the ones that are super popular, like national programs like the Boys and Girls Club or the Y, but also your local independent grassroots organizations, thinking about parks and recreation centers, thinking about museums and libraries, also often education programming for young people as well. And so I would also encourage parents to talk to their children about the things that they're actually interested in. There's a range, just diversity of the kinds of programming that students can have in after-school programs. So really talking to your child to see what their interests are, to see what they want to be exposed to, can really, really be beneficial.
Yeah, for me, it happened to be dinosaurs, and it was during an after-school program. Got a chance to go to the Smithsonian and see just that. It was truly awesome. With that being said, is there a particular age with regard to the children that parents should really, we'll say at that point, they should focus on getting, let's say, the young child into an after-school program?
I actually think at any age level, after-school programs are extremely important. I would say the majority of elementary age students participate in programs according to the After School Alliance. Elementary school students are served mostly, and then it actually drops off a little bit in the middle school grades, and then it drops off even further in the high school years. And that's because high school students, we're competing with a lot, right? High school students want to work. There are other extracurricular activities that high school students might be involved in, but really at any age, after school support is extremely important. And as students get older, programs can tailor towards their interests a little bit more directly. And so I would say at any age is a great opportunity. And there are over 10 million children and youth who participate in after school programs in this country, and more would participate if they had the opportunity.
Yeah, you got me excited yet again about after-school programs, especially when it comes time for the snacks. Happens to be my favorite part. Yet again, we have been speaking with Dr. Bianca Baldridge. She's an associate professor of education at Harvard University and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. I truly appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me again. Take care.
All right, folks, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. By now, you know that TikTok happens to be disappearing from the U.S. yet again. On what date? September the 17th. I bet you that got a lot of folks' attention. This following the Trump's decision to move forward with a ban after extending the deadline earlier this year. Now, from full-time influencers who quit their jobs to pursue content creation to small businesses who rely on the app to drive sales, TikTok has long been a force in the economic stability. But with the sudden loss of the platform, many are about to lose a vital source of income. That's where my next guest comes into play. He says that the TikTok ban is a stark reminder of how fragile our income streams can actually be. I'm referring to Mr. Michael Scarpati. He is the CEO of Retire US and kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. Good to see you, Michael, and welcome to the show.
Hey, Guy, good to see you again. Thanks for having me. Always fun to be in the Live Zone.
Yeah, I got to tell you, a lot of folks are saying this is not fun, and that is TikTok potentially going bye-bye. I mean, to think that it's yet again right around the corner, September 17th to be exact. Can you explain what you mean by, let's say, a fragile income streams with regard to folks that are putting content on TikTok and what factors contribute to this?
Yeah, you know, the thing is, TikTok isn't just a place for highly addictive short-form video scrolling. It's a major marketplace for creators, and it's a major marketing channel for small businesses. I'll give you kind of some quick data here. There's about 170 million monthly active users on TikTok. 7 million of them are businesses. Wow. And it's a major platform for getting the message out and getting their marketing out. And so all of a sudden, you know, you have an audience of a potential 170 million people out there that no longer can see your message. It's going to have a major impact on sales and your ability to drive revenue for the company.
Yeah, Michael, I'm thinking maybe 3 or 4 years ago, the only AI I happen to know of happened to be Allen Iverson. Fast forward to now, and it's obviously artificial intelligence. And so I'm curious, in your experience, Have income streams really changed in the past decade surrounding all of this?
Yeah, I mean, they really have. You know, the key, I think it goes back to these financial planning principles, which is diversification, right? We need to diversify. TikTok has been such a booming platform because its algorithm is different. The organic reach that you get on TikTok is different and is more equivalent to paid reach that you would need to get on these other channels. And so diversification is so key for people when they're leveraging these platforms as marketing or as just content creation tools. It's the more we prioritize one channel, the more fragile this can become. But it's a really big way for people to earn income these days, and cutting off a major stream of that is going to have an impact, undoubtedly.
There are going to be a lot of folks crying foul sometime in the near future. So with regard to the economic factors, yet again, how do external economic factors, let's say like inflation and or a recession, impact income stability, if at all?
Yeah, well, we're definitely seeing that. I mean, there's definitely been decreases in a lot of consumer spending based off of the inflationary rate. I think one of the major factors that the public doesn't always fully grasp is that inflation is a factor that builds over time. And so it's actually the rate at which things are getting more expensive. And so in order for things to decrease in price, we would need deflation, right? We would need something that's actually reduced. It's a negative. So what we're actually tracking is how expensive things are going to continue to be, and it's a factor that's consistently building, and it hasn't gone down, right? The damage is kind of already done for the consumer. So you're seeing the purse strings become a little bit tighter just because things have increased at a rate that's higher than wages and income coming into the household has increased, and we're definitely seeing that impact in the economy, undoubtedly.
All right, Michael, so let's try to predict the future, shall we? In this case, I'm curious, what do you think the future holds for income stability in various industries overall?
I mean, I think it's rocky. I think it's very, very rocky. I would go back to a couple of key financial planning principles again as we prepare for the future. Are we consciously aware of what the stagnant money that we have is earning for us, right? Inflation traditionally ends up over the 3% range. In the past couple of years, we've seen it close to double that range in a few of those years. And we have to make sure at least the money that's on the sidelines is earning for us at a higher rate, right? So there still is some high yield Feds looking like they're going to probably finally reduce rates in a couple of weeks here. But in the meantime, finding cash positions that we can still earn that can at least keep pace with that inflation is going to be really key as we move forward at this stage.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this is really interesting to think that so many folks rely on this one vehicle in order to really put food on the table. It's just truly amazing to me. And so with that, we'll end with this, and that is, if you could give one piece of advice, sir, just one overall, what would it be with regard to what we have been chit-chatting about?
I would say you always want to have your cash reserves. I mean, this is really, we cannot predict the future, right? And that is a financial planning principle that we always need to go back to. 3 to 6 months of after-tax expenses for your household to have in some sort of level of emergency funds, especially if you're a small business.
All right. Hit the nail right on the head on that one. Yet again, I'm still working on putting my TikTok account together. So perhaps I'm a little bit too late, but should I do that, I'll let you know. Yet again, we've been speaking with Michael Scarpati. He is the CEO of Retire US and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Great to see you. Thanks, man.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, just like that, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Time now to chit-chat about all things happening in Fairfax County. And when we do that, we're always joined by this guy, one of the hardest men working in TV, paper, online, and everything else, Mr. Vernon Miles, yet again back here on the Live Zone. Vernon, I had to think about it for a minute. I turned on the TV the other day on right here on Fox 5, and I saw you on. I'm like, dear God, this man never takes a break. So you are always working hard, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us yet again.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about some of the stories that you all are covering over at Fairfax now. In this case, parking restrictions considered to stop overflow of boats on Hunter Mill District streets. What in the heck is this all about, Vernon?
What I think is so funny about this is Hunter Mill District, that's the area around Herndon, out in like the Herndon-Reston area, completely landlocked. There is no access to the water, but the streets there are being flooded, pun intended there, with boats. People are having their boats hooked up onto trailers and stuff like that, parked all around the streets there. Residents say they've had enough. Not only is it taking up valuable parking spots in this neighborhood, which I'm sure you know how fights like that can go, but also people are saying it's a hazard because they block the views of drivers. You have kids running around in these neighborhoods, and these big boats are taking up too much eye space, kind of as you look at the street there.
Yeah.
And so they're looking at instituting some kind of a ban on the streets there, something that would require people to not park their boats there on the street.
Yeah, I can imagine it's somewhat of an eyesore. I've actually driven by this before, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, you're right. It's nowhere near water, but yet again, you're surrounded by boats. And so, but yeah. I wonder though, Vernon, I know certain boats, or most boats, if you will, have to pass an inspection as well. And is that an issue as well, or have a lot of those boats, let's say the inspection expired as of right now, and that's why they're just storing them right there?
Yeah, that came up earlier when they were having, they had some thoughts that maybe the solution to this is to ticket boats that had expired licenses or boats that were kind of set out too long on the street and were considered abandoned. But apparently the issue was they would just kind of move them around, or they would just shuffle them around and it wouldn't get picked up. So now they're looking at kind of a blanket, no boats whatsoever, no matter what the status is.
I can tell you one thing, they don't want to hear that line from Jaws where they say, I think we need a bigger boat.
We're going to need a bigger boat, yeah.
All right, Vernon, let's move on to Fairfax County Public School. The lawsuit over federal funding freeze has been dismissed, at least for now.
Yeah, this is one of those things where they did dismiss the lawsuit from Fairfax and from Arlington. This went to a federal judge in Alexandria, but this wasn't a commentary on the merits of the case. The judge was instead saying that this is not the right court for this, that this should go to the Court of Federal Claims. This is where fights go between the local governments and the kind of federal government when it comes to when and how money should be dispensed. That's not that much of a surprise when you read through the opinion. I do think we heard from Fairfax County Public Schools that they were disappointed in the outcome, but I certainly don't think that's the end of this case.
Yeah, and so with that being said, Vernon, what happens next, or at least in your mind? What do you think will unfold?
I think we're very likely to see this actually go to that federal claims court. Where it'll shake out from there, I'm not really sure, but it does make sense that this is a fight. But ultimately, this is a fight between the local school districts and the federal government over funding. There's a lot of federal government funding that's been frozen by the Department of Education. So this isn't a problem that's just going away. In either case, we always said from the outset that whoever won the outcome of this particular case, that there would probably be an appeal. And I think that's still very likely.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yet again, something that we'll have to keep a close eye on. Speaking of keeping a close eye on, this next story is just terrible. I'm referring to the Fairfax County Police Department investigating a fatal student overdose in West Springfield. Just so sad, Vernon.
Right. We heard that this is an overdose from a student from West Springfield High School. Like you said, this is always heartbreaking when this happens. Normally, we don't cover this kind of thing because you don't want to put people's information out there. This is something where obviously the family is dealing with a very difficult situation. But the school division did reach out to parents and the community at large in the school division to let them know and to issue some warnings, to tell people to be careful about this because there's a lot of stuff like fentanyl in some of these drugs that are being put out there that can lead to this kind of overdose.
Yeah, to your point, hopefully if any good could come out of it, it's that we bring more awareness to this issue. And so to prevent another death would be truly a home run for everyone. But condolences yet again to the family that lost their loved one. All right, Vernon, as we do each and every week, we typically end with the poll. In this case, the latest poll happens to surround the best hiking spot in good old Fairfax County. Do tell.
I got a clip. There's so much good hiking around Fairfax County. My family moved out here pretty recently. We're actually in the Falls Church area, but there's a lot of great places to walk. That being said, not at all surprised by this one. The #1 top spot, Great Falls. If you haven't been, that is the best spot to go to. Go to the Virginia side too. I have friends that went to the Maryland side, and it's good. I don't want to dunk on Maryland, but the Virginia side is a fantastic hiking trail.
Yeah. Hey, but Vernon, correct me if I'm wrong, but my parents live in Great Falls, but that's Loudoun County. Am I missing something here?
No. Yeah, there's parts of the main Great Falls Park is in Fairfax. I think some of it extends up to Loudoun, but the main park there is in Fairfax.
See, that's why we got Vernon Miles. He teaches us each and every day. And in this case, set me straight. Vernon, always good to see you, my friend. Of course, Vernon is with Fairfax Now and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. We'll chat soon.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Time for a little lights, camera, action. In this case, it's all fashion. And when it comes down to fashion, no one does it better than this guy. Matt Dillon, founder of the MD Effect. My friend is back right here on the Live Zone. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing really well, really well. I'm so excited to sit here and break this down because last night was almost a prelude of what we're going to see on the runways coming up in New York this week for New York Fashion Week. We've got polka dots, sheer, body yaddy yaddy. I've got breakdown of everything just for you on the Live Zone, my friend.
I cannot wait. As a matter of fact, we're going to break it down right now. Of course, we're talking all things MTV VMA Awards. I've been saying that all afternoon, Matt. Try saying that fast 3 times. Just wait till we finish the show.
I'm going to pass on that one.
All right, so let's kick it off. As you made mention, a lot of the designers that we got a chance to see on the red carpet last night, to your point, well, we're going to get a chance to see when New York Fashion Week kicks off on Thursday. And so let's break it all down, and we got a lot to talk about. Who's up first, sir?
Right. I want to talk about probably the most prolific girl group right now, Cat's Eye. If you don't know who Cat's Eye is, you've seen the Gap ads. They were in Dolce & Gabbana last night. And when I think of cohesive girl bands, I am looking here at the perfect synergy and personalities of each individual member. So what I'm loving here is that we're getting a little satin, we're getting bodices, but we're really giving that K-pop vibe. I want to make note too that the accessories here, I spoke to my good friends at Let's Bag It in New York City, Julian and Lauren. Now have a look at their bags. They're satchel bags. The tenderness of it and the way that it complements each of those looks. This is superstars on the rise here. I really think these girls, the styling, the power, the attitude, they were a best dressed ensemble for me, hands down winners.
Yeah, Matt, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, and to think that it's all different, but at the same time, all together, that's somewhat unique, sir.
It's a really interesting dichotomy. And as a stylist and somebody that works with people in general, imagine when you have 6 personalities. Now imagine these girls, they're new ingenues. They just came off the Netflix show that created Cat's Eye. They're huge right now because their Gap ad is trending billions and billions of impressions. Now imagine each individual girl probably has a really direct point of view on what she wants to represent.
Yeah.
For the stylist to aesthetically put 6 Dolce & Gabbana looks together and skew it so it's giving masculine menswear. It's giving femininity, but there is a whole hue there of the colorways there. So there's a lot of the black, pops of silver, pops of satin. The lace on the end here is very popular. It's so cohesively done. My hat's off to their team. The girls, I wish them nothing but luck in everything they do, because if that's how they're starting their first big red carpet, my hat's off to them. They're going to go far.
Hey, Matt, I know we got to move on, but real quick, one last thing with them. As a stylist, do you purposely place them in certain positions? For example, would you say, you stand here, you stand here? How does that work?
I mean, I would actually. I would, because again, height variations, body shapes, everything kind of has to flow in the aesthetic, and I really do think they've done that. I think what I love about Cat's Eye is that they're the American inception of a K-pop group. They have such a culturally diverse presence. There's Indian, Chinese, American. So I really love to see how not only fashion-wise has this group come together, but they really, I think, for young women and young men, really represent, when you look at them, you can see yourself in them. So my hat's off, big fashion winners of the night. But I got to get to Jessica Simpson, my friend. She has not graced the carpet since 2006. And
wow, it's been that long?
Sophisticated. Yeah, I mean, she's had children. She released the book where she talked about her alcoholism. This is a return to form. Jessica Simpson is a 90s superstar. She's in Christian Siriano here. Now, what I'm loving about this is the start of what you're going to start to see on the runways. Body figured shapes, but you're getting the illusion. So she's wearing that, you're seeing the actual illusions through the draping of that fabric, the shoulders, the bralette. I'm loving the boning on this, where you see it coming down underneath her body here. So it accentuates her figure. This girl deserves the world. She's been through hell and back. And I think she is not only an icon globally, but last night, she really stepped up and was like, Jessica Simpson is back. We are here. I also love that she kept the jewelry simple. Now, again, I spoke to my girls at Let's Bag It. Look at the beautiful chain earrings here. Silver is a hot trend for fall. So again, she's a winner baby. But can I talk about my favorite,
Oh,
Sierra? Let's do this.
You know I love some Sierra.
I knew you would. I knew you would. Okay, so this is Schiaparelli. It's literally, I was just in DC talking about that athleisure vibe to glam. Sierra has given you the way to do this. Now let's talk about the Schiaparelli. This is the way this is positioned. Look at the bungee rope that's holding this all together. This is so athletic, athleisure. This is very VMAs. Now, when people say, is there a difference between carpets? VMAs are kind of like, come as you are. Let's do something creative. Let's be different. Sierra's giving legs for days. She has the bungee rope, but she has the big bell earrings too. So she's kept everything kind of minimal. The glam is perfection, but it's the bungee rope for me and the exposed zipper on this look. She was an absolute winner, because to pull this off, you have to be Sierra.
Yeah. So with all due respect to Russell Wilson, man, I got to tell you, after saying this, I want to go bungee jumping.
Oh, God. I said, when I promoted I was coming out, I said, we're going to have some laughs. You get me started. Let's go. Let's go.
All right, my friend. Who do we have up next?
Okay, so I want to really take a moment and pay homage to Sabrina Carpenter, who is another ingenue that's doing amazing. She's in Valentino. Again, figure hugging, lace fabric here. I am obsessed with this. I only have one note for Sabrina, and I'm not a fan of the feather boa. I would say maybe we could work it in with a beautiful scarf moment. I think it breaks this up and doesn't do it justice. This is such a beautiful glam Hollywood moment for her that I just think lose the boa, because this ain't showgirls, and let's keep this together. Glam, hair, dress was so enough for her, and she is so on trend with this.
But what about the color too, Matt? I mean, obviously it's a different color than the dress. Does that play a role at all as well?
I mean, obviously they want to do that juxtaposition with the pop, but I'm getting a little, and she's still in my best dress, but I'm getting a little like Swan Lake vibe, like she killed a swan or a duck and she's hanging with the feathers. So I love her. I wish she would have just dropped that and let that be, because that didn't work for me.
All right. Well, the question is, did the outfit the next young lady is wearing work for you?
What do you think, Fendi? Yes, Ariana Grande in polka dots, the hottest of the season, polka dots. What I love here is this minuscule peplum vibe here. It's not voluptuous. It's figure hugging here. Now remember, we've had a lot of discussions on the Live Zone where she was really in her Wiz kind of era with all her, moments there with Wicked. Here she has stepped out of that and she is back to fashion. Polka dots are on trend. I love the peplum. It gives the outfit a little va-va-voom. I just think she is the most beautiful looking queen princess. She's a winner for me, hands down, all the time. But I want to move on to the hottest sister duo, American icons, the Hilton sisters. Are you ready for this breakdown?
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Okay, so I've worked with Nikki before on a Retreat magazine cover. She could make anything look good. Now, Nikki was dressed in Bronx and Benko's new Brielle dress, which is going to be seen next week at their show. Now, when Nikki spoke to Paris, I hear insiders say, Paris says, well, you're being this very demure. She goes, well, I'm coming in the blondes, which is like this fire and ice. Look at how these sisters came together. Nikki in Bronx and Benko, Paris, fire in the blondes. She's giving the trend of the leather choker. The way Paris is dressed and those ruffles in the front really accentuate the vibe. I think what the Hilton sisters do well is that they know what an awards carpet is, and they knew that the VMAs is your one chance to kind of play it up, have fun. I think they, for me, take top billing for the whole evening. I love somebody
Wow.
that's not afraid to have a little fun. Paris is wearing Nucky earrings, the leather choker. I also want to reference on the Bronx and Benko dress that the designers there really played into the belting trend. If you look at the cutouts of Nikki and the back there, there is actually a beautiful shot of the belting and the signature on that dress. The Hilton sisters win hands down for me.
Yeah, when I saw that as well, Matt, one of the things happened to be the energy, if you will. And I know it's a still shot, but that energy still exuded as if they happen to be, you know, live video. I love it as well.
That's like you and me at Sports Illustrated a couple months back. Energy.
A home run, my man. Who do we have up next?
Okay, so again, one of the biggest stars right now is Tate McRae. She's on tour, selling out arenas.
Wow.
Again, she's in the sheer look. I read some comments about this saying, wow, she's the ingenue right now, and this is what we get. This is a Ludovic de Saint-Suriname. Now, I actually think this is so appropriate, not only for who she is currently, but let's talk about, like, she's young, she's dynamic. What do you want to see her in? Covered up and what have you? Let's reference this point, because when she performed Sports Car, I've never seen choreography. It was giving Britney Spears circa like when the snake came out. This is Tate's moment. She looks phenomenal. It's that bridal white, but the bodice area and that detailing. Home run for me. Tate is an absolute winner.
Yeah, I love this as well. I think she hit a home run with that one. Speaking of hitting a home run, I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about none other than Glorilla.
Okay, so I think last time Glorilla really didn't hit it for me last year when we were going through these. I am so obsessed with this Helen Anthony plaid situation. It is giving the colors of the season, but it's giving this demure juxtaposition with the beautiful bucket Versace bag. Satin again, I spoke to Let's Bag It, my jewelry insiders and bag insiders, and satin is the biggest trend. So look at the way this just cleverly comes together. I want to call out her artwork on her legs, because that even plays into this moment. To finish it off, Miss Glorilla is the hottest on trend. We're looking at the ankle jewelry, socks for the season. The way she put this together, she is top 3 for me in this look. I was blown away by how sophisticated this was, yet on brand for Glorilla.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. This one really stole the show, if you ask me. And speaking of stealing the show, you always hit a home run, Matt, when it comes to the best dressed male. I always agree with you, which happens to be...
I hope so, because I got to find out what's going on here, because we're going to borrow this look and we're going to make this really happen. So I am obsessed, obviously, with Lenny Kravitz, none other than Lenny Kravitz. Number 1, he doesn't age. Number 2, the Saint Laurent suit on the carpet. Again, so on trend, so minimalistic, but it's the beautiful combination of that wool jacket in the Prince Wales plaid with that high check. And then the Isabel Rayner boots. I could not think of any other person that could pull this off. No shirt underneath, simple fine jewelry, glasses on. The man doesn't age, and the man could probably wear a garbage bag and look amazing. But doesn't this give you what the VMAs, like those 90s, early 2000s? He gives me the essence of what a man for the VMAs should look like. And I mean, there was a lot of other, LL Cool J looked cool, but I had to only pull out, our man, because he literally was, for me, the coolest without trying to be.
Yeah, and that's when you're cool, Matt, when you don't have to actually try. You just walk in the room and that's what it is. That apparently happens when both you and I walk in.
So says Guy Lambert, ladies and gentlemen. He's the live zone host, baby.
You know me oh so well. All right, Matt, we got time for about 2 more, and I know you want to touch on a couple of them.
I would love to touch on Youngblood, because he caused a bit of controversy, basically like derobing halfway through and giving just body. I wasn't really a fan of this aesthetic as a whole vibe. What I did want to point out, though, and I really did appreciate, that he had a cross that was gifted to him by Ozzy Osbourne, who recently passed. So, that being said, I think the homage to Ozzy and then his performance of the evening really kind of helps elevate what I think is kind of like, you can do better, kid. He's a sex symbol now. People know of that for him. But I'm like, clearly he has that heart to him too. And I thought that was a beautiful moment to really honor Ozzy and like keep it really beautiful. So I'm really happy there. But I'm gonna give you something to end with that I'm not happy with, because what in the world was Miss Doja Cat doing? I'm like Barbarella gone wrong. Not a fan at all of this look. It feels costumey. It feels almost like she's in a period piece for television. There's a few pointers that I do like. She is on trend with her accessories. I'm loving the big, bold earrings, colors purple. I don't mind the dress in itself, but I just find like Doja Cat comes on and like maybe sometimes tries to push the envelope for pushing envelope's sake. And I think she's such a beautiful woman and talent that this kitschy stuff that she does, I can't put my finger on it, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm sorry, Doja. You didn't win for me, but A for effort. You turned up, honey.
Well, I got to tell you, you always win for us. I'm talking about Matt Dillon. Yes, the MD effect. As you stated, you're going to be at New York Fashion Week, correct, my friend?
I'm waiting for you to confirm. I check your email, baby. We got front row. Let's go.
Matt, I truly appreciate your time. We got to run, man. But always a great
Thank
time
you.
when you join us on the Live Zone.
Thanks, brother.
You bet. All right, folks. We'll take a quick break. Brittany joins us next. It's our Monday Talkers right here on the Live Zone. We'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, joined with my friend Brittany.
Hey!
Is back on the LZ, and she's frowning.
Yeah, I'm sad, guys.
Her
shout out
Ravens
to the Commanders.
Thank you.
Y'all got your win.
Okay.
It was against the Giants,
Like
so
I had
I'm
something
not
to do with it.
I'm not gonna take that too much to heart. I mean, it was the Giants. They suck. Anyways. But my poor Ravens lost by 1 yesterday.
But they look good, and that's
they
all that
do,
matters.
and it was a great game. It's
Yeah.
all about entertainment, right?
Yeah.
And I was very entertained. You know what I mean? So
Gotta be optimistic, Brittany.
Yes.
They might end up in the Super Bowl.
They will. They will. I would love to see the battle of the Beltway there between the Commanders and
Yeah.
the Ravens. Hopefully one day that will happen.
Fingers crossed. Hey, let's get to our Monday Talkers. In this case, we're going to kick it off with busy brides are saying AI do with quick and easy vow generators. Apparently, Well, a number of both bride and grooms are saying, you know what, we're tired of writing our vows, having to sit down. It takes hours on end. Instead, let's just type kind of what we think and what we like into an AI generator, and voila, AI generates the wedding vows. What say you about this?
You know what? This is actually smart. I'm actually not mad at it. Like, you know, it's one thing to write from your feeling, but if you could tell AI, like, okay, make this into this, and they make it even better, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people get stressed out writing their vows, and I don't know, not everybody's a writer like us.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it actually kind of, it helps. But then again, it's like, is it genuine because AI wrote it? I
Yep.
don't know. But I really am enjoying AI, Guy. I can't lie.
Oh, I absolutely
Yeah,
love it.
I love
can't-
AI.
I can't tell you how many times I'm preparing for an interview and I'm like, what should I ask? You just type it
like
in?
they have so they have.
Pull up.
I mean, the internet AI has so much better answers than we do. Like
Yeah.
even with Instagram, I'm like, okay, I want this caption, but make it better, and
Yeah.
they'll make it better for you. So I'm not mad at it. I'm
Yeah.
here for it. I mean, it's better than not having vows, right?
I agree, yeah. And if you're somewhat directing it and or giving, let's say, context clues, if
Yeah,
you will. If you're
exactly.
saying, hey, I like this, that, and then generate it all, it's not as if you're saying write the entire thing for me.
Exactly. So I'm here for it
Okay.
for once.
All right.
I
Well, we
like
agree.
it.
Are you here for football in a major way? In this case, college football fans are willing to go to extreme lengths for their favorite teams. According to
Okay.
the newly released survey, more than a third of college football fans say they choose to attend their team's biggest rivalry game of the year rather than a friend's wedding if it happened to fall on the same day.
Oh, that's wild. That's blasphemy. So we go on football over friends.
Uh-huh.
That's crazy. Like those both memories are priceless.
Yeah.
But like a wedding, you're gonna really skip out on a wedding for a football game? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, I would be very upset if I was that friend that was getting married and my friend told me they couldn't come because of a big game. Now if it's the Super Bowl, maybe I wouldn't have my wedding
Yeah.
in the Super Bowl, but no, Guy, what do you think about this?
What college did you attend?
I went to Maryland. Go
Okay.
Terps.
All right, so
we're
it's-
having a good
yeah.
start to the season.
Yeah.
You know what
The
I mean?
quarterback's really good, by the
Thank
way.
you.
Yeah.
I know that. And you know, now we're not in the ACC, we're in the Big Ten. So
Yep.
it's been a while since I graduated. Don't age me, but I mean, Duke was our rival back in the
Yeah.
day. I don't really know who it is now, but
Yeah.
either way,
well-
I'm not going to the game over a wedding.
Well, there you go. But see,
And I am going to a wedding next week, so
I
you're welcome.
attended the University of Alabama.
Okay.
Which,
Oh, you went to Bama.
yeah, football is God.
Oh.
Okay, so like,
Okay.
so I get it. I can
Yes.
see. I remember there happened to be a wedding scheduled on a Saturday, and some of the guys that were in the wedding said, "We're not going. We can't do it."
Wow. Okay, so I get that. I mean, I know how it is down south when it
Yeah.
comes to the games. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's hard. Wow, you went to Bama.
Yeah, roll tide.
Okay,
All right.
I like that.
Right, my friend over there? Yeah, he's listening. I know he is. Hey, let's wrap it up with this. In this case, we're talking about Maryland's most loved homegrown brands.
Okay.
I found this to be really interesting. Let's see. Coming in at number 4 is something I'm really not familiar with, Smith Jewelers. Number 3, Burger Cookies out of Baltimore.
Oh.
Number 2, McCormick Spices. We all know those.
We
the
love
global
McCormick.
spice
Yes.
and flavor company.
Gotta get
and
that Old Bay. Gotta
taking
get
the
that Old
top
Bay.
spot. No, that's Old Bay. So
Oh, Old Bay.
McCormick is different than Old Bay.
Okay, I thought they were the same company. I was confused for a second because I saw the Old Bay. My bad. My bad.
that's
Don't
the
be mad
number
at
one.
me. Yeah, Old, but that's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
I agree
need
with
my
that.
Old Bay on my fries, my crab, like on
Yeah.
dang near everything. You know what I mean? So I'm here for it. Okay, I've never heard of Smith Jewelers though. And
neither
I've
have
never
I.
had a burger cookie. We need to go to Baltimore and get a burger
Fudge
cookie.
top cookies that are at a Maryland bakery staple. Asked any character
It's kind
from
of like the
Baltimore.
Smith
and they're all
Island
great.
cake, which is also popular in this area too. It's a
Yeah.
DMV thing. Okay, Old Bay. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm here for it as well. It's
Yeah.
funny. I saw a guy, a TikTok video. He was out of New Orleans,
Yes.
and they love Zatarain's. That's what they
What is
typically.
that?
It's really good. But so then he flavored his crabs with Old Bay, and he's like, I cannot believe I'm going to do this. I'm so sorry, everybody from New Orleans. And guess what? He loved it in a major way.
Gotcha. That Old Bay ain't nothing to play with, okay?
Just like we love Brittany, who, by the way, you're going to get a chance to check her out on the tape coming up in about 12 minutes or so.
Yes, we're on together today.
Yeah,
I'm
we're gonna have some
excited. VMAs and all that good stuff. There's lots to talk about today.
Yeah, speaking of talking about, we're talking about how Fox 5 is giving back in a major way. You'll find out about that and so much more next, right here on The Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone, and there's no thing better than giving back in a major way, and that's exactly what Fox 5 is doing today. You see, Fox 5 DC is proud to partner with Pepco, Giant, and the Capital Area Food Bank to help feed those in need, and are calling on you to join in. You can drop off non-perishable items at 625 Hunger Forward Drive in Rockville, Maryland until 6:30 tonight, and while you're there, you could say hi to our friend, Homa Bass, now joining us right here on the Live Zone. Hey, friend.
Hi, friend. It's so good to see you. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful day to be out here. What a beautiful day to give back. We're so excited to be partnering with Giant, with Pepco, and most importantly with the Capital Area Food Bank to feed people that are in need. I'm going to bring in my friend Emily, who is with me here with the Capital Area Food Bank. Talk to me about the need here in the DMV. When we think of this area that we live in, we know it is one of the wealthiest in the countries, but there is a need here. Walk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize that because we do have incredible wealth, but we also have a lot of disparity. So we have about 1.5 million people in our region who struggle with food insecurity. And really, what does that mean? They oftentimes don't know where they're going to get their next meal from. It's as simple as that.
And that is where you guys step in a very, very big way. You've been around for decades.
45 years. Yeah.
Helping people that are in need. Obviously, one of the big ways that you do that is through the food pantry, the food bank. You guys are out in the community all the time as well. So it's not just you're going to the food bank to get things. You have a mobile food pantry. Talk to me about some of the ways that you're out there giving people what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we source millions of pounds of food each year, and then we distribute it both directly. We have, you might see us with our tents out in the community distributing food, but we also work with 400 partners throughout the region who run food pantries, soup kitchens, all sorts of places where you can get food when you need it. We work with schools, community centers, right? We want to make food as accessible to people as we can wherever they are.
And I know you're partnering with local pantries on the ground, but you're also partnering with big companies like Pepco and Giant. How big of a role does that play to have their support and have their help in filling your pantries?
It's huge. I mean, last year we distributed the food for 64 million meals, right? That's an enormous amount. You can't do that. We could not do that on our own. We need folks like Pepco. We need folks like Giant. We need people in the community to support us, whether that's donating food, donating funds, or coming and volunteering with us. It's really a community effort.
And if people are watching, they know they can come here and drop off foods, come say hi, get all your questions answered. But for people who are in need, what are the parameters? Do they just walk into the food bank? Do they just walk over to a pantry? How does it work exactly?
So they can always go to our website, capitalareafoodbank.org, and there's a way that they can look up by zip code, find out what food pantries are closest to them where they can get food. For folks who the website may be a little bit harder, we also have a number that they can call, and our staff will walk folks through it. They will just ask zip code, nothing more than that, to be able to tell them the location that's closest to them.
It's been tough on food banks since COVID, since the pandemic. Now, especially in our community with federal layoffs, rising grocery costs, $8 eggs. You know, when I buy milk for my kids, I'm like, oh, whoa. Are you seeing a need rise, or have you seen it stay steady?
Yeah, I mean, food insecurity has been rising for the past couple of years, right? We think so many of us have recovered from COVID, but a lot of folks haven't, and food prices have continued to be high. So we are seeing, particularly with, the federal changes, we do know that there's a lot of need in our community.
Are you guys getting fewer federal dollars? Because I know some food banks are receiving less.
Yeah, it's different for every food bank, and food banks get funds from a lot of different places. Okay. So we have folks like Pepco and Giant, and then we've got a lot of other programs as well.
People want to drop off. We know canned goods are always like a top staple. Is there anything that you would encourage people to drop off that we might not think of that you are in need of?
Yeah. So first of all, non-perishables only, because we are outside. We don't have like a refrigerator here. But things like peanut butter, tuna, canned chicken, right? Or like all protein. We get a lot of requests for protein. Sometimes snacks. Generally what we want is stuff that is low in sugar and low in sodium, because we want to make sure we're giving healthy, nutritious food to our community.
Okay, great. So people can stop by 625 Hungerford Drive. We're out here until 6:30. We'll be on Fox 5 3456. You'll be joining me. Thank you so much, Emily. You can see people have already brought in. Oh, we got some Fruit Loops for the kids. Okay, we got some good pastas, pasta sauces, a lot of canned goods, guys. So people are really coming out here and showing their support.
Yeah, you had me at the fruit snacks right there, Homa. But unfortunately,
I knew how to get you.
and you do it also well. Yet again, Homa Bash at 625 Hungerford Drive in Rockville, Maryland. Folks, make sure you go by and say hi. Truly appreciate you, Homa. Gotta run.
Thanks, guys.
All right.